Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trek Canon. So, today I want to have a little quick, I hope that it's a real quick video, just a little bit about the Kelvin timeline and just how it fits into the prime timeline and canon and stuff like that. I'm going to try to keep it real quick and concise and stuff like that. It's a bootleg edition, you know. I was just about to watch the new episode of Lower Decks, and then I had realized that I didn't get a chance to put out the video that I had made, right? But then I realized not only did I forget to put out the video I had made, but that I had forgot that I didn't make it yet. It's been a long week, y'all. It's been a long week. Don't judge me. So anyway, so I figure I get into my Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood spirit. I'm gonna channel him real quick, and I'm gonna just try to cover a little bit about some of the things that didn't quite fit well, and that they didn't quite do well in the Kelvin timeline or this new iteration of Trek. What they're trying to do a little bit better, and hopefully where they plan on going forward from it, right? So, if anybody who haven't seen any of the things I'm gonna be covering or whatever, which I'm gonna try to keep, like I said, just into how they kind of been doing canon wrong, lately, is it's gonna be some spoilers. So let's jump on into it, man. I done lost my snap. So anyway, let's jump right into it, shall we? Now, the movie, the movies did a lot as far as setting up and establishing the Kelvin timeline. It wasn't really well thought out. I think they did it just for for entertainment purposes. And the Star Trek 2007 or 2009, whatever year it came out, it was entertaining. It did do that. Now the thing is that changing Kirk's timeline shouldn't have done anything with Khan and the Botany Bay. I think that they would have done a better job at having the guy who played Khan, David Kamabakabakabak, if they had a guy him to have been one of the other crew members of the Botany Bay, maybe that first officer guy that Khan had during the Wrath of Khan. So, they didn't do any better once they started getting into the series and everything like that as far as Picard, especially Discovery. Man, they went way out the box on Discovery. But matter of fact, let me tell you what I mean when I say they went way out the box on Discovery. You guys got to understand that Star Trek at its heart, the episode Star Trek, TV episode Star Trek at its heart, is episodic. The only Star Trek that had ventured outside of that box was Deep Space Nine, and even though they had an overall arc and story, and that was that they wanted to tell, it still had episodes that stood alone. A lot of episodes that stood alone. Now, we can say that Enterprise kind of was a hybrid theory of that. They tried to be episodic at the beginning, and then I guess they wasn't doing too well in ratings or whatever, and it wasn't grabbing people enough, wasn't enough boom booms, explosions, and so they tried to get into the this grand overall arc and storyline, right? But the difference between Enterprise and stuff like that, and say what Picard did, for instance, we'll stay with Discovery. For what Discovery did, for instance, is that they added to, in a positive way, established canon. All right, they didn't say that the first captain, they didn't say that the first captain on the Enterprise was Archer. The first captain of the Enterprise was Pike, but Archer commanded the first experimental ship called Enterprise, which is why it was NX. Okay, so that was one of the things that they should have kept consistent with Discovery. If they wanted, I honestly didn't have a problem with them including a spore drive. I honestly didn't. There has been many versions of warp technology that wasn't consistent with the way that, say, Romulans or Klingons or the Federation would warp. For one thing off the head would be a soliton wave. All right. So I didn't mind them experimenting with different ways of traveling, right? But you have to understand that to introduce the sport drive into the chronology where they did it, the only way to have made that work is if Discovery, that this was an experimental aircraft testing this very specific experimental engine, not something that some dude just decided to make while he was on board the ship, and stuff like that. But the Discovery should have been classified as a prototype or some type of experimental aircraft, NX designation, not an NCC. You know, so moving on. They did things like for instance, Discovery just ruined the whole thing where the first female captain in Starfleet in Starfleet was this black African lady, okay, and she was not only the first female captain, she was the youngest to have ever made the rank after Kirk. This was established in the Next Generation episode. I forget the name of it, where uh, those little parasites was jumping inside people's mouth, man. They had the little thorn up inside the back of their neck, and they had the meeting on the planet's surface, the captains, and she was one of them. And they even mentioned that in the episode. So I have nothing against Michelle Yeoh. Quite on the contrary, me and Michelle Yeoh go way back. Me and Michelle Yeoh go way. Let me tell you something. Me and Michelle Yeoh go way back to the days where she was in movies with Cynthia Rothrock. Now, if y'all don't know who Cynthia Rothrock is, look her up, and that'll tell you just probably that'll give reason to this gray that you see right here. But me and Michelle, or as I like to call it, a female Jackie Chan. Me and Michelle Yeoh go way back. All right. So like I said, to the time when she was fighting with Cynthia Rothrock. But anyway, as I was saying, um, they kind of messed. They kind of changed that and flipped that all up on his head when they put Michelle Yeoh as the captain of the Discovery. Also the way they did the Klingons in Discovery, making them look. Everybody already knows that the Klingons don't care about their dead after they welcome them, after they do the warning to Sto-Vo-Kor, treat them like a shell. But now you got a sarcophagus ship. So it was too much suspension of disbelief as a Trekkie that a lot of us had when it came to the things presented in Discovery and the way they was presented. I do like the fact that they dived into the mirror universe the way that they did, but one of the inconsistencies, again, like they was talking about in the episode Mirror Mirror back in the day, in the original series, the reason that they found out that Kirk and the away team in the actual universe was crazy as hell was because, just like Spock said, a sane person, it's much more easier for a sane person to act crazy than a crazy person to act sane. You know what I mean? So I don't know how Captain Lorca was able to pull that off. Now, also, I don't like the way they portrayed Section 31. You know what I mean? They put Section 31 out like everybody just know about them and everything like that, when that's not part of established canon, especially during that time period. So the only way, there was no correcting that one. The only thing you could do is send it into the future, and they still jack that up. A dilithium world, the things that they could have did to make that whole thing so much better. It could have been that Lazarus had came back and decided to he had finally escaped from that realm Kirk had exiled him. That Kirk had sent them to, and finally came back to wreak havoc on everybody because he was an expert in dilithium experiments and stuff like that. But no, they didn't want to do nothing like that. They put some weird Genesis regurgitation planet type thing going on, with this dude. So, you know, um, you know, it was just a lot of stuff that we couldn't believe in that. The Red Angel suit, come on. So, and Picard didn't really make it no better. There's a lot of timelines, but I'm pretty sure Q knows which timeline is the important one. And he had Picard save that timeline in All Good Things. And the thing about that is that I know that because Picard and the crew did the things that they did to stop the anti-wave, that everything would have been different. I totally understand that. But it wouldn't have been so different that it would have been alien to what Q had showed Picard. So they started getting back on track with lower decks and stuff like that. Not with the Picard series, you know. With the Picard series, they jacked that all up. They went so much against Canon in that. Think about think about the trials that happened in Measure of a Man. You know how Data fought to get his rights. Now, if Data is fighting to get his rights, and we've established that artificial life forms have been granted, sentient artificial life forms have been granted their rights. And we know why Starfleet decided not to mass produce androids, because exactly what Guinan said. When you got a race of disposable people, you have now effectively just created a slave race. Okay. You know, when we think about the efforts and stuff Data put into the exocomps, when we think about the efforts and everything that went into the Doctor proclaiming and winning his rights, you know, holographic thing, they just kind of turned that all upside down on his head, you know, and I didn't like that because that was a step back. Now, come to think of, you know, I watch videos, you know, from people like, you know, Lord Reloaded, who done got a little political in his videos, but I watched this video once, and he was saying something to the effect of that the Federation has become more militaristic, and you know they basically never get back to their paradise self, and that the paradise thing was basically in a facade anyway. And I'm gonna have to say that's not true. Now, I can support that reason, and it's pretty easy. After the Zindi War, you know, during the Zindi War, they outfitted the Enterprise with all types of weaponry, you know, all types of Makos. You know, they got very militaristic. They got very aggressive. And after that, what did they do? They formed the United Federation of Planets. They became explorers again. They developed space, the final frontier. They had fire missions. You know, after the conflicts of Romulans always coming in with their experimental aircraft and probes and messing stuff up in the uneasy and Cold Wars and stuff with the Klingons and all of that, they still afterwards still maintained the path to being a paradise. You know what I mean? So I find it hard to believe uh, that they wouldn't have done the same thing after the Borg incursions and after the Dominion War. They would never have stayed militaristic and as aggressive that they were. And then Picard, they almost, to me, almost mirrored the Terran Empire, you know? And that's why I personally didn't like it. And really, the storyline, what plot, what did they add to it? As a matter of fact, they took a lot from Canon. Because let me tell you something. The Romulans have always been a little bit ahead of the Federation and Starfleet as far as technology goes. And the thing is that if their son was going to go Nova, they would have known about it. And one thing they wouldn't have done was ask the Federation for assistance. You know, they would never have done that. They're too proud. The history that the Romulans and the Federation have would never have allowed them to do something like that. They would have asked the Vulcans before they asked the Federation. All right, which I know you're saying, but the Federation, they would have, not the humans. All right, so that was an inconsistency with me, and the fact that they allowed two of the most prominent races to be now allocated to, you know, fringe and almost extinct is, you know, how they did the board in Picard. No, you know, we finally get the cube. We finally get to see the cube, and it crashes. We finally get the Borg activated, and they get blown out into space. Like, that's really gonna stop the Borg when you got a whole fleet that you ejected Borg into, and none of them landed on no ships out there just chilling. Get out of here. So, um, you know, when we think about the contributions that the new Trek has made, it has kind of like, for instance, um, what was the movie From Beyond? I think it was Star Trek From Beyond, where they decided to tip a starship off the side of a mountain and drop it off the side of a mountain to start the engines, when we already know from the episode The Naked Time that that's not how it works. The Starfleet nacelles and engines are not ramjets or turbines, man. You can't. That's not how they operate. Not even almost close to that principle. So that's no. Come on, man. But um, and lifeblood. So Khan has lifeblood that reanimates tribbles and reanimates dead Captain Kirks. And you trying to tell me that uh, Khan would never have thought of using that on his wife, who was exiled to SETI Alpha 5 with him, who had died on SETI Alpha 5, which was one of the main reasons he was pissed off at Kirk for not coming back to check. You know what I mean? So why didn't any of them use that lifeblood on his wife? You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of stuff that you be like, man, no, man, y'all not really thinking about it. So Discovery, yeah, man, that whole let me tell you something. One of the funniest things in my life where I decided to just pause the TV, actually call somebody up on the phone, right, and talk about this was that last holodeck scene in on Discovery where they was fighting and you got to see the insides of what a holodeck was. I mean, not the holodeck, what a turbo lift was, and you seen all that space and the turbo lifts flying through, like that. Oh, that right there. I don't know if you know the stare blink, like you just be like, that's kind of what that was. So luckily though, Lower Decks second season, first season, but the second season, man, like I said, they're listening a lot to their fans. They're people that are not only aware, but people who are actually watching Star Trek to not only include the Easter eggs that they put in there and throwbacks and everything like that, but in doing so are making an actual watchable and enjoyable and as well as entertaining Star Trek series. So I'm looking forward to Prodigy, Strange New Worlds, and the new movies that they're going to be having out. And I'm so happy that there's going to be all this Star Trek on again like it was in the 90s when they had Deep Space Nine, Voyager, The Next Generation, and the movies that was coming out then. Okay? So um, the the Kelvin timeline is not something that you should judge Star Trek on in its entirety. Not even almost. Okay? So if you are a new Trekkie, new person that has been interested in Star Trek, I would highly recommend you actually take the time to go through the many, 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 many hours of what actually built the realm of Star Trek and what made it have 55 years of such devoted fans, okay? And fans of all types, all races, creeds, colors, cultures, it's just professions, everything, okay? So, thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned for the next video I do, which is going to be as soon as I get through watching uh, the new episode of Lower Decks. I'm about to do that right now. I didn't already got myself prepared, and that's what we are about to do. That's how we finna do it. You know what I'm saying? So, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. And as always, peace, recycle, and save the whales. You guys be cool as always.